Hi guys, it's Fantasy and well, this is not like a traditional recording I have planned for my channel, but this is something I need to address pretty clearly for my love for Dark Knight, because it has a couple of things that I do want it to be changed, hopefully in the near future, maybe in this upcoming patch or update for February for 14, but we'll see once the full notes come out. And today I have Mr. Game Lust to join me on my small rant on how I feel with the current state for Dark Knight.
I'm here more of an emotional buffer because I know nothing about Dark Knight, so...
Well, you do know about tanking, but to a certain degree for mostly dungeon stuff, but you know
I'm the soy boy who plays the paladin and shit.
Yes, he does. To start off on this rant, I do want to say I like the job, but it could been improved dramatically for Endwalker, because it still has the same iteration from Shadowbringers, so nothing has really changed except adding 2 or 3 abilities built into its kit. But for the first ability I do want to mention is Blood Weapon, which is still the same. I don't think they changed much, but I really wish this was on the charge system, which is accumulating to how it was for Paladin for the Holy Spirits combination, where instead of like a timer counting down, you have a stacks every time you use abilities. So once you use all 3 stacks, the ability will expire and you wait for this cooldown to come back online. So I wish Bloodwind was kind of similar aspects for the Holy Spirits combination, but I don't know. What do you think, Lush?
Well, like, I would say which would be more interference of that, because usually as a paladin, I just kind of just sit there like an idiot and just kind of just spam defense stuff and make sure that I'm stunning at this. Look, I'm terribly at tanking. This is kind of why I think that paladin is perfect for me.
It's built for newbie people that doesn't think much.
when I look at certain job places, like most people just rank them on a certain like rank and scale of like their difficulty. Mm-hmm. But at a certain point to where like the difficulty becomes like, all right, this is a little bit too much. Calm down with it. You should kind of like, yes, each class should be treated differently, and well, if you're gonna be playing this class, it's gonna be a little bit more technical. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, if you don't want to be like thinking too much about it, you probably want to play this class vis-a-vis the paladin. It's like, you want to be a little bit more technical, have a little bit more Batman toolkits. Like fucking paladin has like basically the utility kit for almost every damn situation. It's kind of hilarious. It's just the trade-off should literally kind of go even. Like for the paladin of how versatile I think the paladin should be harder to play because of how versatile and basically of how every situation it can just fit. Granted, yes, it's not the... Damn, I think it can still do a considerable amount of damage. Granted, I'm not a hardcore player, so I'm not going to sit here and say I know what the damage range from a paladin compared to a Dark Knight is. But in my honest opinion, lore-wise, into game, it should be easily weavable into gameplay and lore. Mm-hmm. A Dark Knight probably should be able to do more damage. Come on, look at him. He's wearing a fucking sword, a buster sword.
From what I remember, what I've seen, the Dark Knight still has the highest output DPS for all the tanks. Well, even more so for the Gunbreaker, what I've been seeing. But it has all the damage, but it doesn't have the survivability, if I want to put it that way. It doesn't have like abilities to, say, give you a certain defensive in case you kick the bucket or anything.
Right.
That's how I feel.
For sure. It's like a balance. It's like it sits on the edge. But it's still doing that damage, but it has some risk to it. Where the paladin's like, yeah, look, it's gonna happen. Like, if I get hit, I just gotta get out of jail free card for was it Lay on Hands? What the fuck was my heal?
The Clemency?
Yeah, Clemency. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't cure me all the way, but it's a cure potency of 1,000.
That you can also use it on your party member to heal them and yourself. So it's like... Yeah. A very, very, very good skill, but of course with a good skill it comes with a huge mana cost as well with it.
Right. And it could easily be refreshed. It's like almost like a reload. It's for mana for a paladin, it's like almost reloading a gun. Just do a couple of things and you're pretty much good to go again. Take a cycle.
And for my next ability I want to address is Abyssal Train. Oh boy. For this thing, it does unexpected damage penalty of 150 to all targets nearby it, and it restores HP and MP, but it also shares recast timer with another ability, which is okay because lately a lot of people don't use Abyssal Train on single pull, more so for multiple targets. So they're kind of like, hey, if you want to use this, it will be on cooldown, so you have to use a different ability on for a single target and whatnot. But the thing with the Abyssal Train, it's good for healing, but I miss how it was in Stormblood, where you can spam it with Dark Arts. Well, there's another ability they removed from the game, but they kind of repurpose it to a different ability altogether. But
wasn't it Stormblood? It was kind of like when they were OP as shit and everyone was playing Dark Knight. Yeah.
you would know. You were doing dungeon with me with Dark Knight, so I literally get every mob and just spam Dark Arcs and Abyssal Train to heal me to completely full without any regard of my safety. So that's like, Dark Knight during Stormblood was really, really strong because they had like, well, as I said earlier, Dark Knight spam Abyssal Train. You can keep yourself top up as long as you have mana to keep spamming said ability.
Right.
So now
you know the business. Release a new class, make it overpowered. Everyone wants to be. They're doing it with Reaper now. It's like, Reaper is like overpowered, but it's like instead it's like just bring everyone up to the Reaper. So as opposed to the last couple expansions, make them overpowered and then bring them down to everybody else's level, which is kind of dumb, I think.
But now at least they're, instead of like nerfing every job, they increase their damage output. So instead of nerfing them, they'll just get on par with the Reaper at the current state.
Right. So
which is a good decision.
More damage. Yeah, it's more fun to do more damage than to receive the nerf bat from developer because, hey, let's make the class fun. All right, let's not make it fun anymore because everyone else is not having fun with their classes. No, make the other classes fun with the Reaper. I think that's probably why they haven't really touched the Paladin or tried to like nerf it in any way, because it's just, for me, like, I love playing the Paladin. It's fun to play for me.
I don't understand it. For me, I enjoyed Dark Knight ever since, I think, during the second last half of the Heavensward expansion, because that's when I started playing Dark Knight into Stormblood. I fully played it, but since then, like going to Shadowbringers, it was alright. It was like missing how I wanted to play in Storm because, you know, spamming Dark Arts, healing with Abyssal Train and such, but going to Shadowbringers to Endwalker, it just plays the same way besides 3 abilities just slap onto it.
Yeah, I don't know. So what are you thinking? Do you think that they need an overhaul, bring some of the old mechanics back? What would you prefer?
I do wish for Abyssal Train they could keep it the same, but maybe lower the cooldown to it and maybe slap on like a dot where you, when you use Abyssal Train, you will hit all the targets, but it will slap like ability, like a dot of it, which is called, there was an ability called Soul Survivor, so when the target dies, it will give you mana or HP back to yourself once the target dies, or when it expires, whatnot. But instead of like the whole dying mechanic, maybe when you use the dot on them, whenever they tick with the damage, they'll absorb HP to yourself over time, for every dot that ticks. So I really wish that would be like a nice change for Abyssal Train with its current state.
So like a drain over time to where the warrior has one where it hits him with an attack and gets healed. The paladin would have a heal for itself. Granted, it's it's not a sustained heal. It's like almost like a oh shit heal.
Yeah.
And I haven't touched Gunbreaker, so I don't know does it have a health self healing. I know it can shield itself and shield allies.
It has a Aurora, which is like a dot, kind of like a regen, but later on it gets 2 charges, so it has 2 ways to use those abilities back to back if need be. It has Heart of Stone, which will upgrade to Heart of Conundrum, which does the same shielding mechanic with yourself or your party member, but it added a self-heal to yourself to a certain percentage. So let's say you have a 100% HP and it will go to a certain percentage, like it will heal you at 50% at a certain point, or when it expires it will still heal regardless.
Gotcha.
It's the similar things, like for all the tanks I'm looking right here, let's say Warrior has Bloodwetting, the same effects. Heart of Gunbreaker, Heart of Conundrum, which I already mentioned, and Holy Shelton does the same similar thing, but for the Dark Knight, it doesn't have much on that. It's like, I have the Blackest of Night, which is another skill I'll talk about later, which does shielding, but that's about it. and when it breaks, it will give you an option to use a ability for free. But I wish they kind of allocate that to another ability instead of your shielding utility, because it's kind of like a DPS loss if you're relying that shield to break for an extra action for free.
Gotcha. It's more situational than anything.
Yeah, because I like the concept. They still kept Dark Arts to a certain degree, but I kind of wish they relocate that to actual action ability than the defensive ability, because you want that shield to break, but what if it doesn't break? So you wasted mana just trying to make that shield pop on yourself to make it break.
I'm sitting there wondering, like, with all the adjustments, I wonder if there's going to be like with this being the end of the saga, I'm wondering if there's going to be a whole overhaul to a lot of the classes.
I can see that actually happening, but not. Maybe I don't think it would be that much drastic as of change, but maybe like little by little, if anything.
That would be kind of cool, but yeah, it's like I don't see like I said, as a scholar refugee, I haven't been back to scholar since Stormblood, and I haven't kind of looked back, and they still haven't touched that. So I'm like, every time they kind of fuck up a class, no, look, I'm not trying to make this dour for you, but man, when they fuck a class up, they kind of leave it there for a bit.
Oh yeah, I would know. We're both in the same boat for Scholar, because it didn't feel how I felt, how it was in Stormblood, because Stormblood Scholar is just like a similar situation for Dark Knight. I love how it played, like the whole mana is like I can keep getting my mana tip-top shape without any really much hassle or anything until
it's not
going.
It's burst healing and shielding.
Yeah, and when
I thought they were kind of trying to do that and maybe bring back the Scholar, but they kind of just really just did it for the Sage. And then I think Cottage Scholar was. I really need to probably look more into Scholar, but I feel like I didn't see any big changes. It kind of fell to the wayside. And with the tank as being yourself, you got like what? You got 4 or 5 different tanks to contend with.
S4 right now currently.
Yeah. And I just want to see what the new hotness is.
Oh yeah.
With the Paladin being the
poster boy.
The poster boy of the expansion. And I'm like, all right. He's like, shit. Even in your guys, it's the Shadowbringer. Shit, you guys, even your own one, you weren't overpowered. By the way, where the hell's my Red Mage one, huh? Yoshi P? Where's my fucking Red Mage expansion?
Well, it kind of got introduced with Stormblood, but technically it's more of the monk / samurai that's more of a highlight of anything.
Exactly. You got the Western culture stuff over. It's like shit. God damn it. Anyway, we can all sit here and complain about our classes, but
yeah,
hopefully Papa Yoshi P could save us.
Save us from more baby whinings, and eventually we have things fixed.
And then he'll look down and whisper, "No."
And moving on to the next ability, Solid Earth. This is one of the weakest ability kit for the Dark Knight, because basically you plop the thing down and anything that steps on it does damage, but the damage is not really that great at the current state. But it does get like an extra ability attached onto it, because it changes from Solid Earth to Salt of Darkness. So whenever you press it again, all enemies are on the same path, wherever that group is, it does like unexpected damage. But the thing is, when you press that button, you can't press it again. You have to wait until Solid Earth expires to reapply it again. So it's kind of like one-click thing, and it's like, I don't think I like that, because it's like, sure, the unspec damage is good, but you can't like literally spam it in the same time slot as Solid Earth. So you only use it once, and then when Solid Earth comes back line, press that down, press the button again. So it's like, I don't know. It feels a little bit meh to me if for the auto tank's ability for your ground AoEs.
Yeah, it's like like I said, like I have no idea how that would work. Like what would you compare it to? Like to another tank?
I have one. Let me switch to my paladin real quick. I forgot what it's called. It's like another ability. It's a similar kind of thing. What was it called? Circle of Scorn. There we go.
Okay, so the AoE, the dot AoE thing.
Yeah, so it's like kind of similar to Circle of Scorn, but the thing is with Circle of Scorn, it has more thing going for it compared to Solid Earth, because sure, it's like, let's see, let's go down 30 seconds, and Solid Darkness is, how many, what's the duration for this one?
Oblivious.
Let's see, where is it? 90 seconds, so it's like 30 seconds. It basically has more, 60 seconds more cooldown compared to Solid Earth, so you can really spam circle score, that one ability for the paladin more often.
Yeah.
So it's like,
does it last longer? What's the duration on it?
15 seconds for Solid Earth, and for the other one, I think, I can't remember. Let me check. Let's see. Circle Scorn is also 15. They're both the same duration, but the cooldown from both of them is completely different. So it's like, you can spam this more compared to Solid Earth. So it's like, I don't know. Like, the one thing I wish they remove Solid Earth as like move that ability entirely, and then slap on a different ability instead of like doing damage when you press it again. But maybe whenever you use your AoE combination, like you know, with Paladin has like the 2-power combination to get mana.
Yeah.
For the Dark Knight, when you initiate the first combo, when you hit the target, maybe you could get some HP back per target. But then again, they kind of remove that, so you just get mana whenever you hit the target, regardless. Because I miss how it was in Stormblood, where you hit every target, you get mana per target you hit. But now you only get mana just once. You don't get it per target hit. So like, I miss that mechanic.
Well, the thing now is mana has been basically even to like every class. I kind of see why it's like, okay, it would be a little insane for like especially for, I guess, for tanks, seeing how they're just basically trying to grab everything. They would never run out of mana whatsoever.
Depending depending which tank actually uses mana, because like the only thing I actually think that uses mana are Dark Knights and Paladin, because well, Paladins heal and Dark Knight use some of them for their free ability actions. And as for Solid Earth, I really want as I mentioned earlier, like when they plop that down, hit the target, they heal themselves for a certain, not like a very big margin, maybe like a good amount to sustain themselves. So that would be a good change for Solid Earth, if anything else, because I've been looking at everything in Dark Knight. Like, there's so many things could be a good potential change, and some there's like it was good what they changed, but not to the point I will probably say, yes, I like this change.
So you want to cool down and just make it a little tad easier?
A little bit. Not to a point where it's still broke. It will be like a game changer or anything. Just something that will help to stay the Dark Knight during their AoE rotation. Because the only thing going for it for healing is Abyssal Train, but that's on the 60-second cooldown, and so you can't really rely on that to help you keep yourself up and about. Because if anything, at that situation, the healer is probably your saving grace to keep you alive.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, if you're keeping on his shit, he wouldn't. That wouldn't be a problem. But then you always need self-sustain.
Alright, so the next ability is more of a action ability, Shadowbringer. So for Shadowbringer, well, I don't know why they decided to name it Shadowbringer as an ability of all things considered.
I was gonna say, I didn't even know that was a damn skill.
So for Shadowbringer, it does unexpected damage to all targets in a straight line before you, with a potency of 600 with the first and 50 less of the remaining enemies, and so on and so forth. So it has a 2 charge. Yeah, so I have a history with this ability because back in Hemsworth, this skill used to be called Dark Passenger, which is a similar thing, but during then, you had to press Dark Arts and then go to Dark Passenger to hit the target, but it will add an effect where each target you hit, you will blind them. So it's like, they kind of brought back ability that was removed before, so it's like, okay, because it's more, I like Shadowbringer, the ability is fine, but it's more bottom bloat if anything considered.
You think so?
Because I'm looking at their kit right now, they have so many abilities, they can easily reallocate that to something else, but honestly, Shadowbringer is fine, but I don't know, it could be like implemented somewhere else, if I want to put it that way.
Well, that's true. So it's an AoE that blinds a group of people.
Well, no, I'm just comparing it to ability back when it was back in Heavenward, but right now it's just straight out damage, but it will drop off per hit. And the next one, Dark Mind. Oh boy, where do I want to begin with Dark Mind? So this one it just reduced magic vulnerability by 20% for 10 seconds. So can you recall how many enemies does magical damage on your character?
Oh god, yeah, that is kind of a. It's like they should just make that into just all damage. Like mitigating like magic and physical damage is kind of like too much maintenance at a certain point, and so it becomes situational. So where like one of your skills where you can just pop it whatever, that one just becomes so situational, and you would have to know like even if the boss or the monster is even attacking with magic.
Mm-hmm.
Or would it be like every cone attack is magic, but then no, that's not, because it could just be a claw swipe or something.
Yeah,
that I totally agree with that. Just that, dude, just get rid of that. Just that, or just make it every damage mitigation ability. Just get rid of the shit. That's like,
yeah, it's like this is like really a dead skill in game. It's well, not really a dead skill, but very situational because you don't know if this target will actually do magic or physical damage. So it's kind of like wasting its potential for something else, because if you look at like say Rampart, which all tanks have because it's a roll skill, it does like a certain percentage, but it's straight out defensive for most attacks, not just magic. So I wish they kind of like, hey, instead of magical damage, we just put in the physical damage instead. So that way you don't need to worry of not using it more off, because hey, I'll protect myself instead of magical damage. Because I think this is the whole situation in Heavensward where some targets were like they're trying to experiment on Dark Knight or any other job, and during that saga where we'll slap them with this, maybe we'll help them with this like magical attacks from caster or something. But to be very honest, that's not really a good way of putting it in that skill, because later on, sure, we can have some situation, but for all purposes, physical damage is probably the better go-to for the ability. Because like, I don't know what they were thinking back then. Up to currently
it was more
now.
viable, kind of like how like more passive instances, like, because I believe that I think Paladin had that too, to where
I think it did at one point.
Yeah, to where, God, it's been so long to where it had physical and magic damage defenses, to where it's like, okay, that's a little bit too much. Kind of like that's something like you would see in like classic World of Warcraft, where you would have buffs that would defend against like ice, poison, fire damage, and you would have to get a set of gear that would be. Depending on the monster, you would get an ice set gear and like a poison set gear for all that shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people was like, "Oh, okay, this is just too much." I like me personally was fine with it because that was like back in the hardcore days. But yeah, now I'm like, God, fuck, I'm not fucking with that. It's like something I would take that something out of like Monster Hunter. But it's like
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's like, but this it was like, all right, this is too much. All right.
So for Dark Mind, instead of like, I want to change and maybe slap on another ability I'll be talking in a short while. So the next one I want to mention is the Dark Knight's key defensive utility, the Blackest of Night, which creates a barrier around yourself or a party member with absorbing damage total of 25% of its target's maximum health. And it has a duration of 7 seconds after popping it. And when the shield breaks, you have a free action of Dark Arts on 2 abilities for your single or AoE targets. So, my gripes with this one, yeah, sure, you give like a free ability when this breaks, but once it breaks, you don't have anything to protect yourself, because sure, shielding you from incoming damage is good for tank busters, but when you're using it on mob pools, that shield will break instantly after a couple hits from a couple monsters attacking you. So it's like, it's nice, but once that thing breaks, you're completely defenseless after a certain point before you can pop it again. Because like most tanks has a similar ability, because for the longest time, Dark Knight's Blackest Night, or TBM, has been like the strongest thing ever since it first came out in Stormblood to Stormblood, but not the Stormblood, like Shadowbringers. But going to Endwalker, they slap in all the other tanks with Heart of Conundrum with the similar thing, but it gives like a HP when it drops a certain margin. Similar thing with the Paladin and Gunbreaker. So it's like they could somehow give it like something like a 50% HP pop heal when it drops to a certain margin of your health or something. I don't know. It's like you really need to do that, or remove mana cost, because all the other tanks don't have any like MP requirement to pop their defensive cooldowns. Besides Paladin, because it's tied to their oath gauge.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's like, oh shoot, because like if you guys are sitting there, well, at that point you guys sit here like, is the class totally broken and not usable at this point?
It's still usable. It's just that it's hard to survive, if anything.
Right, for sure, and it's more of a difficulty. Yeah, like I said, like I kind of wish I had more insight to Dark Knight, so I can actually like bounce off this, but I can only compare from like what I can do. It's like, yeah, mostly burning my defense skills as a paladin to just like mitigate most of the damage, and if push comes to some, yeah, I can cast clemency, but I really haven't really had to cast clemency for like the longest, maybe because I have Sheltron, shield bash to do that, yeah.
It's like imagine you don't have clemency and everything else, and you have two abilities to keep yourself alive. So if you imagine in my situation, it's like 9 out of 10, or maybe 5 out of 10, you're probably going to kick the bucket or spam your oh shit button, which will kill you if you don't get healed, which I'll probably explain afterwards.
Alright. Wait, everyone has Sully's Circle, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think I've gotten to myself in this. Granted, I've had you healing me and like maybe Pain healing me, so it's like I really like. Other than that, yeah, there's no other thing that keeps like heals me besides clemency.
But they kind of slap on more things to heal. So like say whenever your single target with your Holy Spirit magic combo, when you hit the target, you'll get HP back. So then literally adding in more abilities to keep you sustained in your burst phases.
I only have one that keeps my MP up.
Well, as you increase your load, I think it's like A something, you get like a passive trait, so when you use Holy Spirit, it will heal you. That I remember when I was looking at their toolkits, and the whole Holy Shout upgrade as well.
Yeah.
And moving on to the next ability, like before we move on, for the Blackest Night, let's but like the shielding ability, I want them to put a damage or at least a HP drop off where if you go besides below 40 or 50%, but give them a small, not like a good managed region of health, but a certain one to keep them survive, because a lot of people are complaining for TBN where it's still on the mana resource cost, which is a little bit because every other tank doesn't require that for their thing. So if they remove the mana cost and maybe slap in something, then TBN should be fine at that point. And moving on to defensive ability, Ablation. So Ablation reduces damage to yourself or a party member by 10%. So
okay, are you telling me like most of the? Are you going through every skill at this point? It's like every skill just fucked.
Not every skill, just some of them I have big gripes with.
Alright, how many more do you got? I was like, good lord, like, man, for the way you say this sounds totally fucking busted.
Not completely busted, it's like there are things that needs to be changed, if anything.
Gotcha.
And I think after this, I just do more and that's about it. Like the biggest one is it's oh shit button, so oh boy, I have a lot to say with that one.
Alright.
So for Ablation, reduce damage to yourself or your party member by 10%. They can easily remove the skill and slap it into Dark Mind and just replace it entirely. So it's like more buttons I need to add onto my character. So what do you think? They can easily slap this to the Dark Mind and make it a completely different skill.
What does it do?
It reduces damage to yourself or party member by 10% for 10 seconds. And it's like on like 2 chargers. So if they remove Dark Mind,
basically another. It's kind of like another respite.
Yeah.
Respill or.
Because I don't know. It's like they can easily delete that Dark Mind and make this ability like a lower level, so you can actually use it on lower end dungeons itself. So it's like more things, because if you look at Dark Knight compared to other tanks, they have like only one ability for defensive abilities, while the other tanks have like maybe 1 or 2 at most. So they can easily make this like Oblation like a lower level skill, still have maybe 1 charge, and then later on give a passive to give it 2 charge at some point.
They can just that, or I can just combine it to a skill, so there's not so much bloat. And it's like, yeah, it just seems like you're just basically giving them the same skill as like every other tank has, and you can just use it twice. Well, a lot of people would say, oh, that's cool. You can just use it twice, and you don't worry about the cooldown. Now, if they shared cooldowns, that would be really useless. But do they share cooldowns?
No, it's it by itself.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was gonna say. Like, I wouldn't mind it. I guess it kind of just be another respill for me to just for damage deal so instead of 10 seconds, it'd be 20 seconds of protection. But, I think they should probably put like a dark Knight flare on it, like do 10% more damage and 10% more protection or something. Like make it unique. It just seems like a move. Like, why did you give me 2 of the same thing?
Yeah, it's like it's more bottom blow than anything. That's like a lot of people's consensus as well compared with me. Like, you just delete Dark Mind, put it in its place, and make it like a lower end skill, and give it like a trait for high end dungeon for 2 charges. So at least that will fix that. And oh boy, I'm gonna explain its emblem now. Oh boy. Okay, where to start? It grants its effect of Living Dead when your HP is reduced to 0, but while the under effect of Living Dead, instead of dying, you go to Walking Dead. So during Walking Dead, most attacks will not lower your HP below 1, but if before the Walking Dead expires under like 10 or certain direction, if you don't heal like a certain margin of its health, the player dies.
Oh yeah, that's what I've been hearing about mostly for you guys. Like,
so
so you have it on, and if I don't start healing you when you hit like 1 HP
or a certain margin of its max HP, the target dies. So imagine a scholar trying to heal a Dark Knight during this phase. Not good.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
But if you're like a white mage, you can just easily benedict the guy to full without any worry.
Right.
But the thing is, if you're not a white mage, then you're out of shit unlocked if you use your oh shit button. So it's like, yeah, this thing needs to be fixed. Seriously, this has been like the core issue ever since Heaven's Word, and from that date, it was never been addressed, or at least give like ability to fix its process. If my memory served, if I know you play WoW, and WoW had like the Death Knight or some equivalent to the Dark Knight's Living Dead kind of ability.
I think it was something like that. Granted, I never touched Dark Knight in WoW either. Because they had changed, because Ice was their tanking ability, then Blood became their tanking. There was it Undead. No, Undead was always like their pet class or whatever. I never touched Dark Knight.
Because I hear a lot of people consensus now they compare WoW's Death Knight to Dark Knight to 14, so it's like it has a similar mechanic for that emblem, but the thing is, what I've been hearing in WoW is it's a lot better compared to 14.
Yeah.
So for this ability, I don't know. So let's say you go to Walking Dead phase and you need to heal yourself. So once you go to that threshold, maybe you can slap on like a life leecher. So let's say you're in Walking Dead, and every time you hit something, you can regain life to help your co-healer, your main healer, heal you to top full before you die for said ability. Because like there was this ability, or like say roll action back before they remove most roll action abilities, called condolences, or I forget what it's called. So it's like when you pop this, every time you get yourself healed, it's like increased by a certain margin. So they can maybe slap that on instead of life leech for Living Dead to help the healer heal you to full or a certain margin. But I don't know, like there's so many fixes they can actually implement it for Living Dead to make it better as it currently is.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I know you don't play Dark Knight, but what do you think from some of my ideas to help fix this very, very bad skill?
Yeah, that kind of seems silly. It just seems it should be like a rebirth or something. It should be like a rebirth skill. To where it's like, not outlook, you just have to play different healing. And Dark Knight, yeah, Not out of luck, you just have to play different healing a Dark Knight. But yeah, people want it changed. That's from Knoxville. I think the high risk, high reward thing is like if you're gonna do that, give it a reward and let you play with the mechanics. Like if you're gonna cast that and you have like 1 health, man, you should be doing like 100% damage. And I can see like a bunch of Dark Knights doing like damage dump builds with that ability.
I would imagine because
because you're literally on the edge and you're like, all right, I got 1 HP. All right, during this duration of the skill, if your guy could keep you up or put a shield on, you're doing like 100% more damage. You're like standing up with the DPSers at this shit. It's like, why not? Give him a little thing. All right, I'm fucking doing the what's it called?
Living Dead.
Yeah, I'm doing Living Dead. Let's rock! And so everyone they pop his Living Dead. He goes nuts, does all his damages, and the healer's like going, oh god, and just like doing that. It'll kill it faster, and it compensate for the fact of keeping your ass alive. But do something unique with it.
I know,
like it might be stinky, but it's like, oh hey, at least has a cool little mechanic on it. Yeah, exactly. Dark Knight already does the most damage. Let them keep doing more damage. Let them do as much damage as they possibly can so they stop bitching about their survivability. Because at least give them something to make them unique out of all the tanks. Because it's like, if you're going to have this tank do it, just let them go all the way with it. Let the people have fun with it.
Yeah, it's like the thing is, like I said, like my gripes on how you die after a certain margin, but like yeah, like your suggestion, give it like say when you hit Walking Dead, sure you're gonna die, but you can at least dish out a ton of damage before you go to the heavens or whichever, or if everything
like
makes
have him kamikaze, yeah, like have him cast meteors or shit like that. That'd be hilarious. Because one, it would make him a super cool off tank. Because one, you wouldn't be have to worry about the DPS race because the Dark Knight is dealing as much DPS as a
warrior,
a DPSer, yeah, or a warrior, but it's like they can, I don't know, switch off on Living Dead or whatever and start tanking.
Oh, you mean like when you what was that ability called? Tank swap. If you tank swap your target, so you pop Living Dead, tank swap, and you other tank will resume your roll, and you still gain damage, but you won't get killed by the incoming damage. That could be easily fixed. After you mentioning that, that's another good idea to pop in Living Dead, so you can put the damage up when you're going that phase, and if you like say not die, you won't die by your ability. But I don't know. It's like I like that another spin in things for Living Dead.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so don't fucking make it the same. Make it way different and make it cool. Give the factor of cool. If it's cool, people won't fucking care. To be honest with you, I think that it's like, oh shit, I'm popping Living Dead. I'm about to do 100 damage. Ah, I'm dead. It'll at least be fun. You're gonna die. And like, God, you know, your white mage or your scholar or your sage or whatever, your astrologer is gonna be, God damn it. I killed it though.
It's like as done still, it's like chicken. At least I killed it. And for the last ability, I do want to. It's more of a passive as anything. So during Heaven's Word, there was a passive or ability tied into Unleash, where you use Unleash, you'll give like a free mana resources. So it's kind of similar to that effect, but instead of mana resources, this passive reduces your cast time for your plunge by 5 seconds every time you use Amend, which is your ranged ability to hit targets if you're not in close enough to them. So I don't know.
Where you charge into them or you shoot something at them?
Shoot something at them. So basically, when you spam that, it will reset your plunges to your gap closer for Dark Knight. But Dark Knight has 2 charges with standard for most tanks. So I feel this passive is a little bit not something I won't be using, because plunge is not really something I want to weave. Well, sure, I can weave it into my attacks, but they could easily snap a different passive compared to this, because this feels not needed, if I my honest opinion.
Yeah, like I said, it's like, I don't know, like, what, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to explain it to me, because, like, it just says, like, okay, you're shooting at it, and it recharges your gap closer. Wouldn't that be a good thing?
Well, it's a good thing, but it's like a gimmick, if anything, from Heaven's Word, because, like I mentioned before, there was a similar ability where you use Unleash to get like a free mana resources for your ability, but I don't know. It's like the thing is for gap closers, they're not too long for charging. If I'm looking at it right now, is on the 30-second cooldown, and it has 2 charges. So if you use this, you can basically keep plunging your target back and forth. But it's honestly, if I imagine that, it doesn't feel necessary. If I want it as a passive for some, you can easily replace it for something else entirely.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I could see that. Like certain situations, especially when you have to like back off from the target, you have at least like that one ranged attack. That's kind of like how I got with my red mage. Instead of being able to charge in, it gives a ranged attack to jump back. It's like it's a situational thing. Yeah, it does give bloat, but it's like a harmless skill to have.
Sure, I can keep plunging the target, but the thing is, for higher dungeons, you have 2 charges, and you can basically just wait, or at least save one if you need to dash into the target if you need to get there. So having this passive to shoot your range every so often to recharge your gap closer, which is like, I find that is not necessary for my understanding, because you don't really need it.
I would love it, to be honest with you. I wish I could have, like, as my red mage, I wish I had a skill that would recharge my gap closer, because I find that I'm in certain situations where I don't have it. I can throw out a little second of the damage instead of just having to wait for it to cool down, and do some damage, and then do a gap close to modify that. It's like, holy shit, because I used my 2 cooldowns.
Well, I can understand that, but
sometimes I kind of like jump the gun and just use it anyway. So yeah, for a tank, I guess that wouldn't be really too much of a problem. But for me, I'm like, I would like that. So I kind of have to disagree with you on that one.
I would imagine, yeah, I can agree that, because DPS I can imagine, because for I forgot the dashing ability for the red mage. Yeah, I think it's on 2 it's a 2 charge, if I remember correctly, after the passive they gave it to it. So yeah, I can understand like no DPS will like to have more charge, or at least more gap closes when they use a certain ability or a passive. But for tanking, it's not really necessary, because 9 out of 10 you won't be really spamming your gap closer just to get to your target, because sometimes you'll be stationed at one end, but maybe so often you move to another area, then you can get close to your target. But for me, it's not needed as a passive for tank. But for DPS, I would probably say okay, I guess so, for certain situations.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's like yeah, for if you don't use it too much, you're gonna forget that you have it, so you're not using it as much.
And then, like, imagine if you're like your charge is like completely full and you keep spamming your range, you're basically wasting that potential for something else to go on off cooldown. That's like how I feel about it. It's like if you're not using it and you're using your passive for something, you can easily slap this onto something else entirely. But again, that's just me, or maybe other people has the same gripes for the passive as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that's about all the skills. Like, yeah, like there's so many things that could be easily reworked or changed. But man, if my love for the Dark Knight wasn't this my love for it is like this high, I wouldn't be mentioning any of these changes. But I love Dark Knight so much. It's one of my #1 tank I always use. But just after Endwalker, is like it doesn't feel the same, or how it was played during Stormblood. I'm sure they had to change it over time, but I don't know. Maybe they could do a good rework. Maybe bring back some skills that was there in this kit. Maybe
who knows? Maybe they'll do a whole reprogramming, kind of like they did with the Summoner. You never know.
You never know. Either that or what's a good example? Monk. That's another one they had to rework from the ground up again.
Yeah. Because
like during Stormblood it was shit, and then going to Endwalker they had to change certain mechanics how it played, and now going to Endwalker they gave it like another resources, which makes the playstyle for Monk way better compared to was previous expansions.
Isn't the same thing with the Dragoon?
The Dragoon, not so much. They just remove your you enter the Dragon anything to do your increased damage for jumps. They removed that, gave it a couple more abilities, well, passives to upgrade your abilities once you go to a certain level. But beyond that, Dragoons, well, I can't say much for the Dragoon because I hadn't leveled it up, but from looking at its toolkit, it still feels how it was before, but they added a few more things and removed like a core ability to pop yourself before going into combat as a trait instead of like an actual ability and anything else.
You do have a skill that recharges it. A skill that gives you double the damage. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh, do I? I totally forgot. Anyway, whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my whole rant. Maybe we'll see if they do like actual update on the February's expansion for notes and whatnot, but we'll see for the future. And before we head up, Ian, do you have any small stand up before we end this recording?
I'm good. I really don't have any complaints with the classes I'm playing right now. Granted, I don't play as many as them as I could be. Just don't fuck with my red mage. Don't nerf him. I'll kill you. Gotta try Sage here. I don't know. I'm not. Is Sage bad? I don't know. Well, that's another day. But anyway, I'm pretty good. Happy with the classes I have. I am looking forward to the Dancers buff that they are doing in the next patch.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Granted, like, I don't see the real I think I was doing a decent amount of damage as a Dancer, but then again, I wasn't comparing because I really don't care about that. My EP and my DPS shit that most people do. Like, yeah, I'm not sitting here with damage meters and shit, but that's kind of why the community is a little better, because not everyone's fucking so caught up in their own DPS abilities and shit.
Oh, yeah, definitely. With that said,
well,
that's been this recording, and this has been Ravage45, and of course, Mr.
Gamer Lush
signing out, and hopefully in the near future things will change.
Other than that, yeah, we're good. Buff the red mage. Paladin needs more buff. White mage needs more love. No, they don't. I just like playing them because they actually. Anyway, moving on. Give my boy a buff here. Give them more damage, even more. Just make them look. If you're gonna commit to a aesthetic for a class, he might be a tank, but make him just like redonkulously damage dealing. Just make him a fucking berserker, and sprinkle a couple of survivabilities in there.
Yeah, definitely.
just make the healer work extra harder.
But that's so much for the scholar. Give that guy a break.
Oh god, I would think maybe like if you could somehow complement the classes, like I don't know, a sage or a shielding type of healer would work better with a dark knight, because they have, I don't know, they do damage to heal. And then the shielders would mitigate the damage that they're healing, so they keep topped off. As to where paladins, yeah, they just mitigate the damage, and when they take a big chunk of it, they can just take the healing. I don't know, have some more somewhat synergy, but then I would see where mid-max, that would be a problem for mid-maxers. Because then you would say, like, oh, well, no, we don't want to bring the Dark Knight because we don't have any scholars or sages or some shit like that, you know? But yeah, as they always, like, what was it, that motto that WoW would always do, bring the player, not the class. And that's when they try to homogenize everything, and like every class just felt the same with just different particle effects. And that shit just got annoying as shit. I'm like, okay, this class feels no different from the other class I've been playing. And I just wish, like, that's so I can see where it's a hard balance to try to get these two balanced without not every class seeming like they're the same. But yeah, I trust Yoshi P, and I think your problems will probably be solved. Who knows? Maybe in the next big patch next against the.
Yeah, whenever the big patch comes out, or the next expansion, which I don't want that to be, because like a whole 2 years I have to wait for this thing to be fixed.
Don't worry, man. Scholar will come back. Dark Knight will come back. It's gonna be okay. Then we're gonna have happy rainbows and sunshine.
Yes, indeed. So, for that, this has been Ravage45 and Mr. Gamer Lush, signing out.
Cheers, y'all.